When we speak about strength, the first image that often comes to mind is physical muscles, endurance, the ability to lift, to run, to overcome obstacles in the material world. And yet, if we dig a little deeper, we realize that true strength is far more than what the eye can see. It is the kind of strength that carries us through emotional storms, that allows us to endure psychological pressure, that helps us stand firm when life seems determined to break us. And here lies the profound reality: all of this strength, the inner fortitude that sustains us, originates from Allah. Without His support, every effort we make remains limited, fragile, and fleeting. Consider for a moment the times in your life when you have felt completely overwhelmed. Perhaps it was a sudden loss, a heartbreak, a failure at work, or a situation where everything seemed to collapse at once. At such moments, human strength alone is insufficient. We search for answers, for courage, for resilience, and sometimes we are left feeling empty. Yet, when we turn to Allah, something transformative happens. The heart, which felt weak and fragile, begins to find a source of endurance that is infinite. The mind, clouded with fear and doubt, begins to regain clarity. The soul, battered by trials, feels a profound sense of support that cannot be quantified. This is the strength that comes from Allah, the strength that does not waver with circumstance, that does not fail when the night feels longest. Psychologically, we see this reflected in the human experience of hope and trust. When individuals rely solely on themselves, anxiety and despair often take root. We constantly question, am I capable? Can I handle this? But when the focus shifts from the self to the divine, a deeper sense of confidence emerges. It is not arrogance nor a belief in our unlimited power, but a profound reliance on a force greater than ourselves. This reliance creates a psychological resilience that is unmatched. A believer knows that even if human support fails, Allah's support remains unwavering, consistent, and perfectly aligned with wisdom and mercy. Philosophically, this concept challenges the illusions of autonomy that the modern world often promotes. We are trained to think that success, happiness, and stability are products of our efforts alone, but reality repeatedly demonstrates otherwise. No matter how strong, educated, or capable we may be, life presents trials beyond our control. Disease, loss, injustice, and uncertainty touch every human being. In recognizing Allah as the ultimate source of strength, we acknowledge that our human abilities are instruments, not ends in themselves. They are channels through which Allah's support flows, empowering us to endure and excel, even when circumstances are dire. This understanding transforms our entire approach to life. It does not make us passive, rather, it empowers action. When we know that Allah is the ultimate support, we act with courage and conviction, not reckless self-reliance. Our efforts become meaningful, our perseverance grounded, and our hearts anchored in a peace that surpasses understanding. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to witness Allah's strength manifest through our lives. And in moments of apparent weakness, we are reminded that it is precisely through reliance on Allah that we discover our truest, most profound strength. So, the next time life tests you when circumstances seem insurmountable, remember this. Strength is not measured by what you can do on your own, but by your ability to seek, trust, and depend on Allah. True power is found not in resistance alone, but in surrender. Surrender to the one whose support never falters. And in that surrender, you will find a strength that no hardship can overcome, a fortitude that no trial can diminish, and a peace that anchors your heart in the storm. When we speak of Allah's mercy and compassion, it is easy to think of these qualities as abstract or distant concepts, something to be acknowledged in ritual or polite reflection. Yet, in reality, Allah's mercy is profoundly practical, deeply personal, and immeasurably transformative. It is this mercy that cushions our hearts in the moments when life feels unbearably heavy, when trials pile upon trials, and when human efforts alone cannot provide relief. Understanding Allah's mercy is not just a theological exercise, it is an invitation to experience a support system that is limitless, constant, and perfectly attuned to our needs. Think about the weight of a life crisis illness, the loss of a loved one, financial ruin, betrayal, or the sense of failure that leaves the soul in despair. In such moments, human compassion, though valuable, is often insufficient. Friends may try to console, circumstances may provide temporary relief, but these are fleeting. What remains is a profound emptiness, a longing for a support that never fails, that never falters. This is precisely where Allah's mercy becomes evident. The believer, when turning to Allah, discovers a profound sense of reassurance. Even if the world turns against me, even if everyone I know fails to understand, Allah's mercy remains. It is a mercy that transcends human judgment, a support that does not depend on circumstance, and a comfort that reaches into the deepest recesses of the heart. Psychologically, this reliance on Allah's mercy has remarkable effects. It reduces anxiety and cultivates resilience. When a person understands that Allah is merciful, they are able to approach life's challenges with a sense of security, even when solutions are not immediately visible. This is because mercy implies care, protection, and guidance. It reassures the believer that hardship is not meaningless, that suffering is not punishment without purpose, and that behind every trial lies a divine wisdom that is ultimately in their favor. This psychological security, grounded in faith, creates space for reflection, patience, and endurance, qualities that human effort alone cannot generate under pressure. Philosophically, Allah's mercy reshapes our understanding of human suffering. Life is inevitably filled with pain, loss, and disappointment. If we were left to our own devices, these realities could lead to despair or bitterness. But when we recognize Allah's mercy as a central truth, suffering is reframed. It becomes a means of purification, a reminder of dependence on something greater, and an opportunity to grow spiritually and emotionally. In other words, mercy is not merely a consolation, it is an active force in the believer's life, turning hardship into a transformative experience. This perspective also changes how we interact with the world. A person who experiences Allah's mercy firsthand becomes more compassionate toward others. They understand that everyone carries struggles invisible to the eye, and that mercy is a principle that extends beyond individual experience. By acknowledging and reflecting on Allah's mercy, the believer learns empathy, patience, and a capacity to forgive, thus creating ripples of divine compassion in their community. So, the next time life feels overwhelming, when despair and frustration threaten to take root, remember that Allah's mercy is not distant. It is immediate, intimate, and encompassing. Trust that every hardship, every pain, every disappointment is met with a divine compassion that knows what you need even before you do. Open your heart to this reality, lean on it, and let it carry you through the trials that human strength alone cannot overcome. In Allah's mercy, you will find solace, resilience, and a profound support that transforms not only your experience of hardship, but your entire outlook on life. And here lies the ultimate lesson. Allah's mercy is not passive, it is active, it is present, and it is a reminder that no matter how difficult life becomes, we are never truly alone. If we can embrace this mercy fully, we will discover a strength deeper than fear, a hope brighter than despair, and a peace that no challenge can diminish. When we speak about guidance, we often think of it as advice, a roadmap, or a set of rules to follow. Yet, guidance in its truest and most transformative sense is far more profound. It is a lifeline from Allah, a light that illuminates the path in moments of confusion, uncertainty, and moral ambiguity. While human wisdom has its place, it is inherently limited, bounded by experience, perspective, and the imperfections of the self. Divine guidance, however, is perfect, complete, and attuned to the complexities of the human heart and mind. It is this guidance that supports life at its most essential level, enabling us not only to survive but to thrive spiritually, emotionally, and morally. Consider the countless decisions we face in life, both significant and seemingly trivial. From career choices to relationships, from financial decisions to ethical dilemmas, human beings are constantly navigating a sea of possibilities, often unsure of which path leads to true benefit and which leads to harm. Left to our own devices, we are prone to error, influenced by fleeting desires, societal pressures, and limited knowledge. This is precisely why Allah's guidance is indispensable. Through the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad DFA, we are offered a framework that transcends mere rules. It is a comprehensive map for life, designed to align human action with ultimate truth, justice, and goodness. Psychologically, this guidance provides stability and confidence. When we are aligned with a source of wisdom that is beyond our limitations, decision-making becomes less a source of anxiety and more an opportunity for purposeful action. The heart feels secure because it knows that it is not navigating the world blindly. It is being led by a force that understands the consequences of every choice, every intention, every subtle inclination of the soul. In moments of doubt, reflection on divine guidance restores clarity, reduces mental turmoil, and allows the believer to act with both conviction and humility. Philosophically, guidance from Allah reshapes our understanding of life itself. Life is rarely simple, and human experience is marked by complexity, uncertainty, and sometimes apparent injustice. Without guidance, these realities can lead to despair, moral confusion, and existential questioning. But divine guidance reframes these challenges, showing us that life has a purpose, that every trial is part of a larger design, and that ethical and spiritual clarity is attainable. Guidance is not a constraint on freedom, rather it is the key to genuine autonomy, for it enables us to act not out of ignorance, impulse, or fear, but out of understanding, awareness, and alignment with higher truths. Moreover, guidance transforms not only personal experience, but social interaction. A person who internalizes divine wisdom is better equipped to navigate relationships with integrity, fairness, and compassion. Decisions are informed by a sense of justice and moral responsibility, rather than short-term gain or reactive emotion. In this way, guidance from Allah becomes a source of both inner peace and outward harmony, stabilizing not just the individual but the broader community. So, when life feels confusing, when the weight of choice feels unbearable, or when the path ahead seems shrouded in uncertainty, remember that Allah's guidance is both a light and a support. It is not passive, it is a living, accessible force available through reflection, prayer, and engagement with the Quran and Sunnah. By seeking and following this guidance, the believer moves through life with purpose, clarity, and confidence, knowing that their steps are directed by wisdom far beyond human limitation. The ultimate truth is this: divine guidance is the anchor of life. It steadies the heart when fear rises, illuminates the mind when doubt clouds judgment, and aligns the soul with the reality of existence. To embrace Allah's guidance fully is to embrace a life of intentionality, integrity, and profound peace. When we do this, we are no longer lost in the chaos of our own uncertainty. We are supported by a wisdom that is infinite, unfailing, and perfectly attuned to our journey. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. No matter how careful we are, how prepared, or how disciplined, trials will inevitably arrive: illness, loss, betrayal, injustice, or moments of sheer uncertainty. Human beings often try to protect themselves, seeking safety in wealth, relationships, knowledge, or social status. While these measures may provide temporary security, they are limited, fragile, and often fail when most needed. The ultimate protection, the kind that is complete, reliable, and enduring, comes from Allah alone. He is the protector in every sense of our physical well-being, our emotional stability, our moral integrity, and our spiritual state. When we reflect on the nature of protection, we realize it is more than merely avoiding harm. True protection also preserves the heart from despair, shields the mind from anxiety, and safeguards the soul from corruption. Allah's protection operates on all these levels simultaneously. When life feels overwhelming, the believer experiences a subtle yet profound sense of security. Even in the face of danger, the heart is anchored. Even when circumstances are beyond control, a sense of inner peace persists. This is not passive resignation. It is active trust in the one who never fails, the one who knows what is best in ways we cannot fully comprehend. Psychologically, acknowledging Allah as our protector transforms how we face challenges. Fear loses its grip when we recognize that ultimate safety rests not in material measures or human alliances, but in reliance on Allah's care. Anxiety diminishes when we understand that while we may plan and act prudently, it is Allah who governs the outcomes. This creates a state of mental clarity and emotional resilience that allows believers to navigate life's difficulties without becoming paralyzed by fear or consumed by worry. It is a security that no external circumstance can fully negate. Philosophically, the concept of divine protection reshapes our understanding of adversity. Trials are not merely obstacles to be feared or endured. They are also a means through which Allah's protection and wisdom are revealed. Sometimes protection is overt safety from harm, deliverance from danger, but other times it is subtle, preventing exposure to situations that would damage the soul or distract from the ultimate purpose of life. The believer comes to understand that what may seem like hardship or loss may actually be an expression of divine safeguarding, a reality that requires patience, reflection, and trust. In other words, Allah's protection is not always about immediate comfort. It is about ultimate well-being, the kind that encompasses both this world and the hereafter. This understanding also extends to moral and spiritual protection. Life is filled with temptations, distractions, and influences that can derail the soul. Allah's protection is a shield preserving believers from succumbing to impulses that would harm their character or distance them from their purpose. It allows the heart to remain focused, the mind to remain clear, and the soul to remain steadfast, even in environments that challenge faith, ethics, and integrity. So, when the storms of life rage, when circumstances threaten to overwhelm, or when fear and doubt creep in, remember that Allah is the ultimate protector. He is attentive, precise, and perfectly just in his guardianship. By seeking his refuge through prayer, mindfulness, and obedience, we activate a protection that is far greater than anything we could engineer on our own. It is a protection that safeguards not only our lives but our hearts, our minds, and our purpose. The profound truth is this: reliance on Allah's protection does not mean life becomes free of challenges, but it means that the heart, the mind, and the soul are never left defenseless. In His care, we find courage where fear threatens, stability where chaos rises, and resilience where weakness appears. To entrust oneself to Allah as protector is to step into life with confidence, knowing that no trial is beyond His knowledge, no danger beyond His command, and no moment of vulnerability without His support. Hope is a fragile yet essential force. It is the light that keeps us moving when the path is dark, the energy that fuels perseverance when obstacles seem insurmountable. Yet, in human experience, hope often falters. Life has a way of challenging even the strongest among us. Setbacks, failures, disappointments, and losses can drain our motivation and leave the heart heavy with despair. This is precisely why faith in Allah becomes indispensable. When a person truly anchors themselves in the belief that Allah is the ultimate supporter, hope and motivation are no longer dependent on circumstance. They become qualities that arise from a deep, unshakable certainty. Faith transforms the way we perceive challenges. A believer does not simply hope that circumstances will improve. They trust that every event, every trial, every moment of difficulty carries purpose and meaning. This is not blind optimism. It is a profound, reasoned confidence in Allah's wisdom and mercy. Psychologically, this perspective is powerful. It reframes suffering and hardship from being arbitrary threats into opportunities for growth, resilience, and self-reflection. When the heart is anchored in faith, obstacles are no longer purely sources of despair. They become markers along a meaningful journey. This awareness sustains motivation even when external circumstances seem discouraging. Motivation rooted in faith is unique because it is inherently sustainable. Human motivation often fades when immediate rewards are not evident, or when the effort feels disproportionate to the outcome. Faith, however, allows motivation to transcend immediate results. It connects our actions to a higher purpose, reminding us that effort itself, when aligned with Allah's guidance, carries intrinsic value. Every act of perseverance, every attempt to improve oneself, and every effort to navigate life's challenges becomes a meaningful contribution, blessed and multiplied by Allah. This understanding transforms laborious effort from a source of fatigue into a source of spiritual and emotional vitality. Philosophically, sustaining hope through faith reshapes the human experience of uncertainty. Life, by definition, is unpredictable. Plans fail, expectations are unmet, and disappointment is inevitable. Without a spiritual anchor, these realities can easily lead to despair, resentment, or apathy. Faith in Allah's support, however, provides a framework within which hope thrives. It allows the believer to accept life's unpredictability without surrendering to fear, to remain engaged with purpose even in adversity, and to see every challenge as an opportunity for inner growth. Hope, in this sense, is not naive. It is a conscious stance grounded in the certainty of divine wisdom. This faith-based hope also has profound practical implications. It influences behavior, decision-making, and relationships. A person who believes in Allah's ultimate support is more likely to act with perseverance rather than impulsive fear, to seek solutions rather than resign to despair, and to inspire others through their steadfastness. Motivation becomes contagious because it is rooted not in fleeting emotion, but in a stable, spiritual conviction that transcends circumstance. So, when life feels overwhelming, when setbacks threaten to extinguish your drive, and when the heart struggles to remain focused, remember this: hope anchored in faith is not fragile. It is a profound force that sustains you through trials, strengthens you in weakness, and renews your commitment to move forward. By placing trust in Allah, you tap into a source of motivation that is constant, resilient, and far greater than the fleeting encouragement offered by worldly success. The ultimate lesson is simple yet powerful. Faith does not eliminate hardship, but it transforms how we respond to it. It allows hope to flourish in adversity and motivation to persist despite obstacles. When we embrace Allah as the source of support, our hearts gain the courage to act, the resilience to endure, and the vision to see opportunity where others see despair. In this embrace, we discover that the strength to persevere is not something we manufacture. It is something we receive, nurture, and sustain through the unshakable certainty of divine support. In our search for fulfillment, we often look to the world: wealth, status, relationships, achievements, recognition. These are not inherently bad. They have their place and can bring moments of satisfaction. Yet, if we examine them closely, we realize that worldly success is transient, fragile, and ultimately incapable of fully satisfying the human heart. True fulfillment, the kind that nourishes the soul and brings lasting peace, comes from a source far greater than material possession or human approval. It comes from Allah, the ultimate supporter of life. When we anchor ourselves in His guidance, mercy, protection, and wisdom, we discover a form of fulfillment that transcends circumstance and persists even in adversity. This fulfillment is deeply psychological. Human beings are wired for purpose and meaning. When our lives lack direction, when our hearts are disconnected from a higher source, we often experience restlessness, anxiety, and dissatisfaction, no matter how comfortable our external situation may be. Allah's support provides precisely what the soul seeks: a stable, enduring source of meaning. Knowing that we are under the care of the One who is infinitely wise and merciful gives the heart a profound sense of contentment. Even when life is imperfect, when trials arise, and when outcomes are uncertain, the believer experiences an inner harmony that worldly success alone cannot produce. Philosophically, this realization reframes the nature of happiness itself. True fulfillment is not the accumulation of external gains, but the alignment of the heart with its Creator. Material achievements can be fleeting. They can be lost, diminished, or fail to bring the satisfaction we expect. Allah's support, however, is eternal. It nurtures the soul, fortifies the heart, and satisfies the deepest human longing for security, purpose, and love. This understanding shifts our priorities. Rather than endlessly chasing what is temporary, we begin to invest in what is lasting. Our actions, decisions, and intentions become oriented toward divine approval and alignment, which ultimately cultivates a satisfaction that the world cannot take away. This sense of fulfillment also manifests in resilience and perspective. When the heart is anchored in Allah's support, setbacks do not devastate, successes do not inflate the ego. Life is approached with balance, gratitude, and humility. Even in difficult circumstances, there is a recognition that every moment is part of a greater divine plan, and that peace comes not from controlling outcomes, but from trusting the One who controls. This is why believers can face hardship with serenity, and even find joy amidst trials. They are supported by a power that transcends circumstance and provides meaning where human logic might see only chaos. Furthermore, fulfillment through Allah's support is relational and expansive. It impacts how we interact with others. A heart grounded in divine reliance cultivates generosity, compassion, patience, and integrity. By depending on Allah, the believer is freed from the constant anxiety of self-preservation and ego-driven desires, allowing the energy of the heart to flow outward. Relationships, work, and social contributions are then infused with purpose, harmony, and authenticity. True fulfillment is not only personal, it becomes a force for good in the wider world. So, when we reflect on the true source of contentment, we realize that it is not found in transient pleasures, fleeting recognition, or worldly power. It is found in the support of Allah, the one whose wisdom guides us, whose mercy sustains us, whose protection shields us, and whose presence fills the heart with hope and meaning. Fulfillment arises when we anchor ourselves in this reality, trusting that no matter the turbulence of life, we are held by a source of support that is eternal and unfailing. The ultimate truth is simple yet profound. Life without Allah's support is incomplete, no matter what it contains. Fulfillment, peace, and true joy are gifts of reliance on Him, gifts that endure when everything else may fade. To recognize this is to awaken to a life of purpose, balance, and inner serenity. And in this awakening, we are called to act not passively, but with hearts aligned to the one who is our ultimate support, ensuring that every step we take is guided by wisdom, grounded in hope, and fulfilled through divine care.